The Congress of South African Trade Unions, also known as Cosatu, says swift action needs to be taken to turn the economy around. The Trade Federation says there's a need to ramp up education on vaccines to address concerns and fears of those that are not yet vaccinated. It says attention should be given to the power utility to help it bring its debt under control and speed up maintenance programs. Cosatu has also welcomed the extension of the 350 Rand social relief grant. Well, joining me now is Cosatu spokesperson Sizwe Pamla. Thank you very much, Mr. Pamla, for joining us. Just give us your overall impression of what came out of the State of the Nation address last night.
Well, look, there were some areas that were mentioned by the President, issues that we have discussed at NETLEC. But overall, there is really nothing new from this SONA. The President has gone back to rehashing some of the old ideas, some of them that have failed, especially on the employment creation front. I mean, talking about the youth wage subsidy. This is something that has been there for 10 years. And all of the studies that have been conducted show that it is not working.
Yeah.
Now he's talking.
One might agree with you that indeed it's a lot of the same old stuff, but in terms of tone and actionability, did you get a sense that these are measures that are going to be actioned upon immediately? Because we can talk about policy, but if it's not implemented, it doesn't really make a difference.
No, there's nothing really. They were not detailed. So we are in no position to really measure the speech. I mean, if you look at the SOEs, for an example, there's an SOE council that was appointed sometime in February 2021. It's like this SOE council has not met because we just don't hear what is it that they intend to do with the SOEs. Now, these SOEs are imploding. They are retrenching workers. They are failing to pay service providers, and they are betting on the fiscals. So it means that problem has not been solved. Let's go to municipalities. Many of them, if you read the Auditor General's report, they are collapsing. They are struggling to pay service providers. They are struggling to pay workers. President said literally nothing on that front. And then if you look at the target, when it comes to the target that he set himself up in terms of employment creation, he's only relying on the presidential employment program, something that first is not sustainable. Number two, these are temporary jobs. These are contract jobs. And they pay below the national minimum wage most of the time. So, and then he goes back to say, well, the private sector is going to help on this front. Let's go and check. What is it that has been done to entice this private sector to create these jobs? For the last decade, the corporate tax has been reduced 34% to 22%. Where are the jobs? There are no jobs. Where is the money? We hear 80 billion is taken out of the country every year. We hear some of it sitting in their bank accounts. And those companies that do actually create jobs, they hire foreign workers. And some of them spend this very same money to mechanize. And they don't hide this. You go to the 2017 mining in Indaba. Mining sector was very clear. We have 500,000 jobs. We intend to cut jobs. By 2030, we'll have 95,000 because we're following the Canadian model of mining and the Chilean model of mechanization. So he keeps saying the private sector is going to create jobs. The private sector keeps telling him, we're mechanizing and automating. We don't intend to create jobs. So we don't know where does it come from, this idea that the private sector is going to create jobs.
Mr. Pamla, we know that electricity supply has been scarce and problematic, load shedding and so on, and a higher cost of energy and so on. But the President did refer to measures that have been taken around the energy supply situation. Were you enthused by that at all?
Well, if you cannot measure it, it's difficult really for us to trust you know what you are doing. Because, as they say, goals are dreams with deadlines. Where are the deadlines? I mean, he's halfway through his term. He's talking about fixing Eskom. If you were to ask, what is it that has been fixed so far? Has the debt of Eskom has been managed? No, not necessarily. Has the funding model of Eskom been fixed? No, not necessarily, considering that Eskom is asking for a 20.5% tariff increase. Has the issue of revamping these power plants has been sorted? Not necessarily. Has corruption been fixed? There's no evidence to that effect. So that is the problem here, is that We all know the Eskom problem. It's been with us for a decade. We don't want to hear what you told us 3 years ago. What we want to know is the progress. And to say, if you're talking about small, medium enterprises, everyone agrees. I mean, countries of our size, 30% of the workforce, of the jobs, come from people who work for themselves. How do we expect these people to work for themselves if they have to deal with the issues of electricity prices, the fuel cost, and the higher interest rate? All of these things, they are discouraging people to actually start businesses. So, and yet the president keeps saying that we are going to reduce unemployment. We're not going to reduce unemployment, not when we can't fix some of the most fundamental issues that allow people to go into business.
Mr. Pamla, we're going to leave it there, but clearly you're not happy with what came out of the SONA last night. Thank you very much for your time and insights there, sir. That was Sizwe Pamla. He's a spokesperson at Cosatu. Small business